The gym floor shined under the morning lights, every inch polished to perfection. The recruits called it a battlefield, but to Daniel Carter, it was just another floor he had to mop. His uniform was not camouflage or combat gear, it was a faded blue janitor's jumpsuit, stained at the knees and worn at the cuffs. The sound of the mop swishing across the polished wood echoed in the training hall, a sound so ordinary that no one paid attention. No one, except fate. Daniel Carter was not what he seemed. To most, he was invisible, the kind of man you walk past without remembering. But his story wasn't one of invisibility. It was one of quiet strength, of sacrifices buried beneath the dust of unspoken memories. He was a soldier once, forged in fire, tempered in battle. But today, he was just a janitor, because his daughter needed him more than the world did. The challenge. That morning, the Academy's training session was particularly intense. 10 female commandos in training had gathered for their sparring drills. They were fierce, proud, and unyielding. The kind of women who had trained their whole lives to be warriors. But like all warriors in training, sometimes pride crept in. Sometimes arrogance whispered louder than humility. As Daniel mopped the far corner, the women laughed among themselves. One of them, sharp-tongued and restless, pointed at him. "Hey, janitor," she called out. "Why don't you put that mop down and join us? 10 against 1. For fun." The hall erupted in laughter. The suggestion was a joke, something to lighten the mood. But beneath the laughter was mockery. To them, he was just an old man with tired eyes and a bent back. Daniel stopped mid-swipe. He turned slowly, his mop dripping water on the floor. His eyes met theirs, calm, steady, yet carrying a weight that made even the boldest trainee shift uneasily. "You want me to spar with all 10 of you?" Daniel asked, his tone quiet. "Unless you're scared," another smirked. The laughter grew louder. But Daniel didn't flinch. Instead, he set the mop against the wall, unzipped his faded jacket, and rolled up his sleeves. His movements were deliberate, almost ritualistic. The room quieted, not because of what he said, but because of the aura that shifted around him. "All right," he said finally. "If it's a lesson you want, then it's a lesson you'll get." The first strike. The circle tightened around him. The first commando lunged forward, fast as lightning, her kick aimed at his ribs. But Daniel was faster, not because of speed, but because of precision. He shifted his weight, pivoted, and caught her leg mid-air. In a fluid motion, he redirected her force, sending her tumbling to the ground without injury but with complete shock. Gasps filled the air. The second came in immediately, fists swinging. Daniel didn't strike back. Instead, he weaved around her punches like water slipping through cracks, then lightly tapped her shoulder, using her momentum to flip her onto the mat. She. Flashback, the soldier within. As he countered their attacks, his mind drifted back unbidden to the battlefield years ago. The desert heat. The deafening sound of gunfire. The faces of comrades, brothers who didn't make it home. He remembered the ambush, how 6 men looked to him for leadership, and how he led them out under fire, carrying one of them on his shoulders. He remembered the explosion that nearly took his life, the scar across his chest that still ached in the cold. But most of all, he remembered his wife's last words before she passed from illness. "Promise me, Daniel. Lily needs you more than the army does. Don't be a soldier for the world, be a father for her." That promise was why he laid down his rifle. That promise was why he held a mop instead of a weapon today. The turning point. Back in the gym, sweat dripped down his temple. Not from exhaustion, but from the restraint it took not to fight with full force. Each takedown was controlled, precise, respectful. He didn't strike to hurt. He struck to teach. By the end, all 10 women sat on the mat, breathing heavily, their pride bruised but their bodies unharmed. Daniel stood tall, calm, not even winded. "You're strong," he said, his voice carrying a quiet authority. "But strength without control is nothing but chaos. Fighting isn't about proving you're better than someone else. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. The women lowered their heads, their earlier arrogance washed away. What stunned them most wasn't that he defeated them, it was that he defeated them without malice, without cruelty. Life beyond the gym. That night, Daniel returned to his small apartment where his daughter Lily was waiting. She ran to him, hugging his waist tightly. Her tiny hands wrapped around him like she was holding the whole world. "You're late, Daddy," she pouted. "Sorry, sweetheart," Daniel said with a tired smile. "Had a long day at work." She didn't know that her father had just humbled 10 commandos in a sparring match. To her, he was just Dad, the man who made her pancakes, helped her with homework, and tucked her in every night. Money was always tight. Sometimes Daniel worked double shifts, sometimes he skipped meals so Lily could have more. The world never saw those battles. They never saw the real war Daniel fought every day, the war of fatherhood, sacrifice, and survival. The commandos return. Days later, the same 10 female commandos approached him again, not with arrogance this time, but with respect. "Mr. Carter," one of them said, bowing her head slightly. "We want to learn from you. Not just fighting. Everything." At first, Daniel refused. He had left that world behind. But then he remembered his wife's words, "Don't let your light die out." So he agreed. But his training was different. He didn't just teach them combat. He taught them patience, humility, discipline, and the value of life. He showed them how to fight, yes, but also how to heal. Years later, Lily grew up surrounded by stories whispered in the academy about her father, the janitor who trained warriors, the man who once fought 10 commandos and left them humbled. But when she asked him if it was true, he only smiled and said, "What matters is not what I did, Lily, but what I do for you. You are my mission." To the world, Daniel Carter was a legend hidden in plain sight. To his daughter, he was simply Dad, and that was the greatest title of all. Final message. Friends, Daniel's story reminds us that true strength isn't about showing off or proving yourself. It's about humility, sacrifice, and love. A single father who worked as a janitor taught 10 warriors a lesson they would never forget, not through force, but through wisdom. Speech balloon, what do you think about Daniel's story? If you were in his place, would you reveal your true strength, or keep it hidden like he did? Share your thoughts in the comments. I love reading what you feel after these stories. Backhand index pointing right, and if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel Be Kind Always, where we bring you real, raw, and inspiring stories that remind us of the power of kindness, sacrifice, and courage. Because sometimes, the greatest warriors aren't the ones on the battlefield. They're the ones holding a child's hand, sweeping a floor, or teaching others with humility.